Hello everybody, my name is Pravus and welcome back to more Democracy 4 with some very aggressive intro music. Goodness gracious me, how do I turn some of this down? Anyway, so in the last video, we started up our second term. We are now going into year 6 as President of these United States, still rocking a pretty nice surplus going on here, gradually paying off a debt that's really never going to go away, but I mean, it sounds nice. How much are we paying on this debt, by the way? Oh, you know, $100 billion per quarter. Jeez. Got rid of the debt and we have like such a huge surplus. It's not even worth tackling. It's too big. Man, that says something about America. Anyway, let's go ahead and move things right along here. Hope you guys have been enjoying this series and been very respectful in the comment section down below. I admit I have not really been reading through a lot of it because I partly have decided there's not a lot you can do to change people's minds on the internet. I'm not even really trying to change minds these days. I think I'm getting older and realizing it's just not worth it, but you know, it's still an engagement and, you know, like an interesting discussion. And I should really get through the comment section at some point, just kind of see what you guys are saying, you know? Rule out first strike. Weapons of mass destruction are theoretically a weapon of last resort and work purely as a deterrent. I mean, it can. I can think of one war where that's not true, but okay. With this in mind, there is pressure for you to publicly commit to no first use of any such weapons. Rule it out or make no comment. Well, this is going to upset the Patriots, but I am going to rule out the first strike. I am not interested in being the aggressor with weapons of mass destruction. Deterrent actually works completely fine for me. Patriots mad, liberals happy. Boom! I don't know. I mean, I think it's completely fine. Not a big deal. How are we doing as far as our cabinet? Right now, people are starting to get back up there. I think 2 political capital per turn is the most you can expect. Why are you not happy? Capitalist ethnic minorities. Admittedly, your experience could use a little bit more work, but yeah, your loyalty isn't as high as I would have expected it to be honest. I wonder if there's any other ministers we could pick up instead that would work better. Patriot capitalists, not a chance. We just kind of really upset a lot of those folks. More patriot capitalists, no. Yeah, there's really not a lot of other good options. I still think we have the most loyal potential cabinet that I can get, but obviously, I would like for it to be a bit better. Still, we're looking at 19 political capital right now, so we have a couple of major issues that still need to get addressed. I don't think we're going to be able to fix all of the problems of the U.S. in the next 3 years, but we'll do our darndest. It does start with getting things like gridlock fixed, and also trying to address things like pollution. And one of the best ways I think we're going to be able to do that is by improving the environment. And one of the best ways we can do that is tanking our GDP, or perhaps, you know, improving car usage and stuff and really reduce a lot of that stuff. That would all be quite good. Where's the environment? I want to see if there's anything else immediately we could try to affect. Environment. There you are, right down here. Let's see what else is going into this. Electric cars, banning low mile per gallon, lifespan respiratory disease, hybrid car initiative, recycling, pollution controls. Let's take a quick look at these. So we already have pretty darn strong fines. You would think this would be a lot better than it currently is, but I think we're going to go ahead and just accept that we need to max this out. Even though this is going to reduce the GDP, that's going to have to be okay. The water shortage is continuing to be a bit of an issue. We're going to have to deal with that probably sooner rather than later, or else we're not going to be able to deal with it kind of at all. So we're going to have to accept that we're going to spend pretty much all of our money on the Climate Change Adaption Fund. And we're going to want to start fairly strong with the prediction system and try to reduce that water shortage by a lot. One thing I don't like about this is it increases the farmer membership, which actually exacerbates the water shortage issue. Even if we went down to, it used to be the alert system actually reduced water shortage a little bit too. Oh god, this isn't going to do a lot, is it? Yeah, okay, I don't like this. The long-term prediction system will cost an absolute frick ton. I kind of want to do this. This would reduce the water shortage by 14%, but it's not enough. Oh boy. Well, let's give it a go. That's going to spend pretty much everything I've got. And then the next thing I wanted to work on was a high-speed rail system and see what that does. The GDP somehow skyrocketed despite I'm trying to deliberately tank it. But okay. Education has improved a fair bit. There is a garbage scam. Okay. Tons of garbage shipped abroad for recycling has been returned. Yeah, abroad for recycling. So, if you guys didn't know this, at least in the United States, we don't recycle a lot of our own stuff. I mean, sure, you got, like, you know, big recycling companies and stuff, and they collect recycling goods. But there's actually a little bit less recycling than you would expect. And by a little bit less, I mean, like, almost none. Typically, our companies apparently just pack this stuff up and then send them off to different countries to recycle it for us. which is a little bit nuts. Environmentalists are super angry and foreign relations have gone down. How is this my fault exactly? What have I done? Nothing. All right. High-speed rail subsidies. This is going to cost a lot of money. We're going to do it. This is going to make commuters very happy. It's going to reduce our car usage by a lot. It's going to increase our productivity, which is going to get rid of the uncompetitive economy. It's going to reduce air travel. It's going to do all this good stuff. It's going to cost a freaking ton for a Hyperloop. I guess we could go for like a maglev train or something instead. This is a little much, honestly. Maybe we just go for a bullet train or a maglev train. 200 miles per hour. I mean, what's the difference, right? You could just go for like, hey, what's an extra like $500 million? Not even that. What's an extra 50 mil if I can get an extra 40 miles per hour? Boom. This is going to cost a lot of money, and we are going to be building that debt right back up to where we were before. But it's going to have to be good enough because I don't really have any good way of dealing with the environment shy of some really significant changes. Car emission limits are something we have to do probably next. There's really nothing else we can do. Anything else I need to change like right now? I mean, we could do some taxes and stuff. We could lower income tax. That's probably not a great idea for me. We can't raise petrol tax. Okay. What else could we possibly do? We can't raise sale tax. It's very easy to lower taxes. It's not so easy to raise them. Did you know? We can raise an airline tax a little bit. Now, this does reduce the GDP, I'm aware, but this also gets me a teeny bit of money and, more importantly, does help to reduce air travel a little bit. So this is the most I can do. Reducing air travel. Now, this is sucky in the sense that air travel is really good for the world economy and for just a domestic economy in general. Like, the ability to travel across an entire nation in a very short amount of time is great. But we're also really working hard to try and push more of a telecommuting initiative as much as possible and really start to fix up that environment and get less pollution. And it turns out planes are a pretty significant contributor to, you know, issues with our environment. So CO2 emissions are going to have to start going down. We've actually done really well on CO2 emissions. That's the surprising thing. Like, I've done a good job of keeping that under control. It's almost as if changing CO2 emissions isn't enough to save the environment. Who would have known? I actually would have expected it to be a bit more impactful in this game than it is. Maybe that needs to get rebalanced a little bit. Mostly it's just the GDP. A skyrocketing GDP is just, it's so hard to control. It's nice to control. You want to fix it, but oh god, it's just hard. So the water shortage is going to be going down over time. 14%. It might get us there, but barely, if so. This needs to dip down, I think, another 15, 16% before we're going to hit the stop trigger on this thing. What can we do to possibly reduce the number of farmers? Membership is too high. Rural development grants we could pull down. The U.S. geography you can't change. It basically means that the United States is a slightly larger, more agricultural nation than you're going to get. Just like our car usage is so high because we're American. It's written into the culture. There's nothing you can do to change it. These vertical farm subsidies were a mistake. I thought it was a good idea to like reduce, you know, food prices and stuff. I'm starting to think we need to really pull this back by a lot. That actually might be a good idea too. Yeah, reduce that farm membership so that they are using less water and stuff, you know? All of those could be kind of okay. But we've already run out of most of our political capital, and I don't plan on passing any of these, so let's save ourselves a little bit of political capital and move on into the next term. I do find that the further you go into a democracy campaign, the faster and faster a lot of these turns are going to end up going. Oh, goody, a real estate bubble. We're all too profitable. Okay. Well, have fun, children. You're going to grow up and not be able to buy a house, just like me. Oh, that was good. Population's too high. We shouldn't have saved as many lives. Turns out we need a bad healthcare system. Ban non-LED light bulbs. You know, I'd be inclined to say this is stupid, right? I mean, I get it. LED bulbs are just superior. Technologically speaking, they are just better. You really shouldn't have to use government force to come along and say don't use a non-LED bulb. That just seems like a little bit of an overreach, kind of based on a tenuous argument of government intervention and justification, right? So when it comes to environmental stuff, I mean, I'm a free market capitalist myself, right? I tend to be a bit more libertarian economically in most things. I just generally don't want the government getting involved in stuff. There is an extent where I'd be willing to say the government has a very legitimate role in environmental protections. In fact, it's kind of like a pandemic. You know, there are some things that are outside of human control, or perhaps are directly or indirectly related to human interactions, and therefore affect other third parties who didn't consent to that transaction, and all of a sudden, there's a good argument why the government should be able to step in. For example, There's a better argument, I think, morally speaking, for the government to mandate fuel emission limits for a car because of the indirect environmental impact that affects people who had no say in the matter, than there is to mandate seatbelts. Not that I don't think that people should wear seatbelts. Absolutely, everyone should wear a seatbelt. You'd be an idiot not to. But, that's something you're willing to take the risk on, and unless that can hurt a third party who does not consent to that agreement, there's less of a justification for the government to come in. I'm not saying, again, that we should just get rid of that. Like, don't get me wrong, seatbelts are important. But you can make that argument. That's the philosophical argument about a justification for government to come in. Two people can do whatever they want as consenting parties, but anytime somebody who cannot consent to an agreement is affected, there's an argument for legitimate government interaction. So you could say, very, very tenuously, that you could actually just ban non-LED light bulbs, and that would be sort of within the scope of government, but I think we're pushing it a little bit. Still, we're going to do it anyway, because I'm trying real hard to improve things like our energy efficiency, and oh, look at that, the liberals don't like it. It's almost as if in this game I would be considered a liberal capitalist. What do you know? All right, so upset liberals, but I think that's going to end up being fine. Let's go to transport, and we have to do the car emission limits hard. Now, the good news of this is it's relatively cheap and greatly increases the environment. We're talking over the next 16 turns, a 22% improvement. I should have done this a lot sooner. It also reduces CO2 emissions a lot more, which, at some point there's not much more we can do than we've already been doing. It also reduces car usage by a little bit. It upsets motorists, but I think this is something we are going to have to accept, so we will. Nothing else we can do down in transport, because I also want to do things like, bus subsidies and stuff. Those will all be good, but no, we're not allowed to do that. All right, free eye test, school vouchers, blah, 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 blah. This is good for improving health. To be honest, though, health is already in a pretty good spot. Not really worried about that. Economically, what can we do? Helicopter money. Print free money and hand it directly to citizens for them to spend. How is this very different from a UBI? It's kind of like a UBI, but it's not universal. Oh, okay. Like all money printing, it is inflationary. That's actually a really cool new feature they've added into Democracy 4, currency strength, which, this one is something that kind of threw me for a loop a bit a while back. I used to think that you always wanted to have a very, very strong currency, and that's not necessarily true. It depends on if you are a more import or export-based economy, and it also depends a lot on your tourism. But, yeah, kind of cool that you can manipulate that in Democracy 4 now. I don't know what the meta is as far as improving it, but I mean, it sounds great. All right, let's take a look at, what was I going to do? We were going to do something. Vertical farms, that's what we were going to talk about changing. Let's go to membership here. And vertical farms, we can reduce this a bit. We can't reduce it a ton, but I can use some of what I've got. And we can accept higher food prices and start reducing a bit more of that farmer membership using the little bit that I've got available. Okay, that's good. That's all very good. Anything else here that really is good? What's the family planning we can change? I've never considered this. This is a thing we could do. We could really upset the religious conservatives and also reduce parent membership by a lot. Oh my God. But it would make education go up and health go up and gender equality go up. Let's take a look at this, actually. How's gender equality? It's not the worst. I mean, it's not great, but it's not the worst. I don't know. This is another one of those government overreach things where I'm like, this is not really the government's place to try and interfere with this, but all right. No, we're going to do it. We can accept upsetting the religious conservatives a little bit in order to try and improve our health and education and make liberals and stuff happy. Why not? Let's do medium. These aren't even, sensible, thresholds. What does this mean? What's medium family planning mean? What's the definition of that? You tell me. I have no idea. All right, implement a program of family planning to improve sexual health, contraceptions, blah, blah, blah. Now, the thing is, some people actually think that this is something you have to do, mandated across the United States. In other places in the world, I have no doubt, but they're all like, yeah, you need to give mandated, let's say, contraception in all healthcare. I don't know. I mean, to me, it's, yeah, maybe. I don't know. Maybe. But I'm also kind of like, isn't this super duper cheap as it is? I mean, I've never had any problems with the affordability of any of that sort of stuff, so, whatever. But some people are also really opposed to that stuff for, again, religious reasons and whatnot. And whether I agree with them is not the point. It's a question a little bit about whether or not it is free. They are free to reject that if they so desire. And that's the real question. I did not mean to just do whatever we just did. We just spent that, and we just did a really aggressive witness protection program, didn't we? Yes, we did. All right, violent crime's going down. Didn't mean to do that. Yeah, on the matter of, family contraceptives and such being, actually legally mandated in all healthcare plans and stuff, I think that's been tried, 3 times now in the United States. I don't remember if it's gone all the way to the Supreme Court. I feel like it has. But there's been several major cases where they've tried to do that, and it's almost always universally been shut down. Whether you like that or not is another question. Airport expansion. Oh, wow, there's 3 choices. Wait a minute. There's never been 3 choices before. What is this? Planning permission has been requested for the expansion of some of our country's largest airports. There's simply not enough capacity for the number of flights they want to land here. Well, that's great. It's a good thing that we are a center of tourism. However, we're also trying to reduce our air footprint. So, I mean, meh. Air travel's a pollution nightmare. The person in me is all like, no, go ahead. But for the sake of the game, we may want to not do this. It's a tough decision, but frankly, we must not take it this year. Maybe a bit indecisive. Maybe hold on until after the next election. We can punt? Oh my gosh, we can punt! Never done this. No, we're going to reject it. Environmentalists like it. Tourism goes down. It doesn't even improve the environment. All right, we should have just accepted it. We should have just done it. That was stupid. Uncompetitive economy is gone. Good. Our productivity has gone up to the point where we now have high productivity, which, guess what? Results in higher GDP, which kills the environment further. Woo! That's going to be an issue. Hey, look at the water shortage making, like, no change at all. This climate adaptation fund is taking forever to kick in. In the meantime, we're actually adding to the debt. I liked not adding to the debt. It was great. We could raise up some more taxes. We're going to need to at some point. That's what we're going to need to do. What can I do as far as, like, expenditure? Wait a minute. Is this my money? Yes, expenditure. Military spending is too high. We're going to reduce it. We're going to reduce it by a lot. We're going to reduce it down to a very highly trained military. The Patriots will be peeved, but we are going to save a lot of cash. Liberals will be happier as a result as well. We may lose the private space industry, though. Wait a minute. I mean, it's pretty darn high. We can afford to lose like 20%, and I don't think we lose much of anything for that. So I think that's okay. Let's just double check that that is, in fact, the case, though. So we lose not quite 20%. We also are less perceived as a strong leader, but that's honestly okay with me. Unemployment will go up. That's not as big of a deal as you might think, though. Unemployment, you do want to have a small amount of it, which we currently do. I think we're actually kind of in a sweet spot in this game right now, so I'm kind of okay with it being where it is. We should have also gone for some more transport stuff, but I really need to deal with some money issues. How are we doing with their environmental protests? I don't know what else to tell you guys. I'm trying real hard to fix this. What do you want me to do? You just want me to ban all cars and planes and tank the economy to save the planet? Is that what you want? Ugh. This has actually always been my least favorite part of democracy, because inevitably, no matter what you do, it's going to turn into a massive tax and spend in order to preserve the economy, no matter what. There's not really a good way for me to deal with this real estate bubble, by the way, aside from doing things like state housing. Or maybe pass some laws saying you can only own one home or something like that, but that's, again, a bit of a violation as far as people's rights. Could do rent controls. This does reduce the real estate bubble, which, that is, I'm sorry, a filthy lie? What are you talking about? Rent controls results in reducing the real estate bubble. Not actually true. Okay, so rent control's been tried since Egyptian times, and they almost always end up being pretty bad. They're good in the short term in that caps on rents can provide some people a sense of stability and also result in, you know, some people living a little bit cheaper. But there's a lot of nuance into how to do it, and some people do it better than others, depending on whether or not, for example, all units, regardless of quality, have to cost the same. Well, then now there's not a lot of incentive for people to live in much more expensive apartments, and all of a sudden they get cheaper rents. You know, like rich people can actually benefit from rent controls, depending on how it's written, depending very heavily on how it's written, and can enjoy a cheaper apartment. Those sort of things can happen. The biggest issue is once you look at it long term, it exacerbates supply issues by a lot. And that, by the way, is going to result in a supply drop. And if you don't know anything about supply and demand, when demand is high and supply is low, prices go up. So I don't believe that that is correct at all. Not even a little bit. Maybe I'm introducing a little bit of my own personal beliefs here, but that's a thing. As far as the game is concerned, I mean, I don't want to reduce private housing. It's good for people to have private housing, I think, in this case. I think that's just going to have to be a thing that we just accept is going to happen. Yeah, I think it's just going to be a thing that's going to happen. Do we save our political capital and move on? Maybe? Question mark? What is this? Fake news? Can we do anything about this? No, we've already improved education as much as I can. Gridlock is going down. Maybe... Can we reduce car usage anywhere else? The gig economy is making it worse. High-speed rails are going to take a while. Road building's weird in that it does reduce congestion, but it also increases traffic usage, or car usage a bit. So it kind of offsets a lot. This doesn't necessarily help me much. I don't know if there's anything we can do with what we've got right now. I think we're kind of stuck. All right, well, that's going to have to be the end of this video then. We're going to be moving on into year 7 pretty soon. I don't think we're going to solve some of these problems. I really don't. There's definitely been some rebalancing since Democracy 3, which is fine. It definitely changes things up a little bit. I just don't really know what to do about some of them. I really don't. Shy of really focusing on things like bus subsidies, I think we're kind of stuck. So thank you all for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If so, then I'd ask you hit that like button, leave a comment, and subscribe, and I will see you guys next time.